So, Australia is getting revamped. Hey everybody, it's Spark666 here, and welcome to today's video. Today we are talking about Australia. Now, Australia is a country that has, over the course of its history, has given us many great things. One of these utter gems that most Formula One fans can agree on is the Albert Park circuit. This is the track that is generally regarded as the season opener of modern day Formula One, if it weren't for COVID. The atmosphere is brilliant, fans turn up in their thousands, and all the teams come to the track to see what all that testing in Barcelona would amount to. But then you get to race day, and watching it is more like, I think we can all agree the Albert Park circuit is a decent track. Problem is, you can't really pass anywhere on it though. The track's just too narrow, and the cars eventually got bigger and more aerodynamic in 2017, which made it much harder to pass anyway. So Melbourne became one of those tracks, I feel, that in danger of being lost to the regulation. It was a victim of the technical regulations, I think is a better way of saying that. It's been in dire need of an upgrade. And as you will have seen from the pictures on the Formula One website, work already is underway to transform the track in time for the race day in November when Australia goes ahead. So, what exactly is happening to the track? What are they doing with it? From what I can see, there are 4 big changes that are happening. So, let's reel them off. Now, the first of these big changes coming to the circuit is the removal of turns 9 and 10. They're gone completely. I think it's a brilliant call. You can't really pass anywhere on there anyway, and it's just before a potential DRS zone, which just because the thing about traction and the weight from the cars behind, the cars can't get close enough anyway before the prior chicane to actually capitalise anything on there. So getting rid of the chicane and just making a higher speed section overall, I think it'll keep the cars with their initial speed all the way up until that chicane, and should provide a little overtaking opportunity, a potential DRS zone as well. So that will probably take up to 4 DRS zones for the Albert Park circuit. Now, the reason why I'm so enthusiastic about it is because of what's happened to the Imola circuit. Now, if you've been watching Formula One in the early 2000s, you would have seen just before the end of the lap, there's a final chicane, a left-hander, then a right, which slows the cars right down. In a modern Formula One car, you'd have to be pretty fortunate to be able to make a pass going from that straight into the first corner. It's the same story with the current layout, I feel, in Melbourne. Today, if you were to look at the Imola circuit layout today, they've actually got rid of that chicane by turn 19, as you can see in the diagram, and it's just become one long straight that, coupled with the DRS zone, creates a real overtaking opportunity going into the Tamburello. Cut back to the race that we got in Imola last year, the restart as well, and the DRS zone with the long straight. I thought it made for some pretty decent racing, particularly at the restart. It was a damn good show. The race just came alive, and despite the fact that the track was so narrow, the cars could actually fight with each other. I was all for it. It was brilliant. So off the back of the long sweeping right-hander of turn 8 with a potential DRS zone, that could really set up drivers well for battles going into the next set of corners, which incidentally is the next big change I want to talk about, the widening and lengthening of turn 13. Imagine being in a race scenario where you're quite close to the car behind, you've got DRS, you've got a bit of a speed differential over him, but you're just too far back and you're not really confident in the corner to actually go and make an overtake. That was exactly the problem I think existed within turn 13 in Melbourne. It was very narrow, there wasn't really a lot of options to follow other cars, and the camber of the track actually worked against the drivers. So when you turned into the corner, what happened is that the camber was almost kind of like, it was almost like you were turning into an uphill gradient. So naturally, gravity would pull the car away, and it would just make it a little bit harder to get the grip that you need, given how the tyres stick to the road in Formula One. So what they're doing is bringing forward the entry of the corner by 3.5 meters and widen it by that length too. Also, they're adjusting the camber from the negative to a positive, so the outside of the car is more leans more into the road and kind of gives you a little bit more grip. Kind of like the banking in Indianapolis, just as long as it doesn't ruin your tyres. I think doing that will give the drivers much more options in which to follow the car in front. The lengthening of the corner will make it quite a heavier braking zone as well, which, if Bahrain was anything to go by, does make for a decent overtaking opportunity. I think that one's probably going to be the best overtaking opportunity overall on the track, and there's plenty of changes sort of being made to sort of set up that turn 13 as the prime overtaking place. It's going to give people, I think, a wider set of options to go with alongside the removal of turns 9 and 10. I think it could make for some pretty decent racing myself. Now, the third big change, and this is quite a general one, is the widening of a lot of the chicane entries, turn entries in across the Albert Park circuit. So, as you'll see on the diagram, turn 1 is being widened by 2.5 meters, turn 3 is by 4 meters, turn 6 by 7 whole meters, and turn 15 by 3.5 meters. The one change for me that really stands out is turn 6, because looking at the diagram there, it almost feels like a straight line. There might as well not even be a chicane there altogether. And like turns 9 and 10, there was no place to realistically pass anyway. So with the widening of the, might as well get rid of the chicane and just set up the prime overtaking opportunity, I feel, which is turn 13. The widening of the rest of the corners, they're not going to create many overtaking opportunities. Well, I could be wrong. But what they will do, as you're smoothing the entries, is going to raise the cornering speeds of each one by default. If there's a generally high speed corner, almost like Silverstone, once you get to a DRS zone, you can pass there. And I think a lot of these changes are being proposed in that sort of similar vein. While not their overtaking opportunities, they're just smoothing the entry, making sure the cars can continue to follow each other, almost making it kind of a straight line. So as long as the cars hold up and they get the entries right, I would say definitely expect them to be following each other closer throughout the race. The fourth one is very interesting. It is a resurfacing of the whole track. Now, a word that gets thrown up around in Bahrain, I think it did last week as well, is the word abrasive. Now, there's an abrasive surface, the way it works on your tyres, it eventually becomes like a cheese grater, basically. It just shreds the tyres, it increases wear, and that puts a lot more emphasis on looking after your tyres and making sure your strategy works. Now, Melbourne has been a circuit that kind of lends itself to one-stop strategies, which I find to be quite a more abrasive surface is going to put more emphasis potentially on two-stop strategies, which I think is makes for much better spectacle and much better racing. And I think there's going to be a lot more emphasis on undercut/overcut pit strategies as well. I think as we saw last week in Bahrain, you had Lewis Hamilton pull out about 4 or 5 lap difference on hard tyres over Max Verstappen. Difference between them was about 9 seconds, but did you see how quickly Max was able to reel in Hamilton? I was on the edge of my seat throughout the whole time. It would just make for brilliant racing. So yeah, with a resurfacing of the track, I'm really excited for that. I think it's going to make for much, much closer racing once it's completed in 2022. So, getting back to the question at hand in the title of this video, will the track changes actually promote closer racing? Might do, might not. I suspect a lot of these changes were made for 2 big reasons. One, with the new car regulations coming out in 2022, which I think a lot of it is emphasised on ground effect and removing the aerodynamic weight behind each of the cars. I know the simulations have said that the weight has been reduced to about 10, that the cars only lose about 10% downforce. So hopefully, the regulations should deliver if the designers of each car don't find a way around the regulations. Second part is because I think it needed a bit of a redo anyway. So while I may not have the definitive answer here, I hope that this video has given you a bit more of an impression of what's likely to come in November. So what do you guys think of the changes coming to the Melbourne circuit? Be sure to like and leave a comment in the comment section to let me know your thoughts on it, and be sure to subscribe to the channel as well for regular Formula 1 content and gaming content as well. And let me know as well what other topics you'd like for me to stick in my 2 pennies worth as well. So thank you all so much for watching. I've been Spark666. You've been brilliant for watching. Thank you all so much. Till next time. See you later.